Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and today's video is actually finally about some football things, people, after what has been a truly emotional rollercoaster of an international break. Genuinely, I thought the last two were eventful, but this one right here will go down in the old memory banks. But thankfully we can move away from all the ifs, the maybes and the buts. Now it's time to get to brass tacks, and that is some football things, and football things return in the biggest way possible, as it's time to talk about the semi-final versus Hibs. And because this game is so big and me and Lee actually hasn't sat and talked about a game of football now for nearly a month, in fact it might actually be a month since we've actually done that, let's just go ahead and dive right into this then, shall we? And start off by having a look at tomorrow's opposition, which is of course Hibernian, who we last saw at Ibrox in the 3rd of October. And it's very interesting to actually go back and you think of that game back in October, because Hibernian up to that point as they arrived at Ibrox were having a phenomenal campaign. They were undefeated in domestic football and only had one loss in 13 matches, and that was an away performance at European football when they were down to 10 men. So they were getting a lot of praise, they were getting a lot of plaudits, and they were getting a lot of belief that they would be able to come to Ibrox, especially at that time with how poor and iffy we were playing, and really get a performance on a result, I should say. And let's be honest, after 10 minutes it looked as if they might just do that. But thanks to the stupidity of Ryan Porteous with yet another reckless and dangerous challenge sprinkled in with a fantastic comeback victory from Rangers, we were managed to come away with the win versus Hibs and give Hibs their first domestic loss of the season. Now ironically, instead of using that international break and everything to use the loss and everything to really rally the cry in the Hibernian section, there was a lot of feeling sorry for themselves, a lot of complaining, a lot of excuses spat out. And it's got to be said, since coming back for the international break and since that loss to Rangers, they've barely kicked the ball since. Because since that defeat at Ibrox, they have played 3 matches in that time and lost every single one of them, people, for being undefeated league campaign to losing 4 on the trot. And it's not even just the fact that they're losing these games, it's the performances in this game. It's how bad that they've actually been, man, because not only did they lose 1-0 away from home at Pittodrie up against Aberdeen and everything like that, they also got beat 3-1 at their home versus Celtic. But their worst performance for me was the game directly after we bet them, when they got beat 3-0 at home to Dundee United, and a game of football that Dundee United well and truly pulled the old scants down and just went to toon, because it was an absolute massacre in that game of football. And you look at every game and every performance since that loss to Ibrox and they've barely turned up. Now, of course, here and all that will be music to a lot of people's ears, especially from the Rangers' perspective, because finding out tomorrow's opposition in a semi-final, if can't get out their own way and are playing as badly as Hibs are currently playing, is all fantastic to hear. But again, as I've sat here and said many, many times on the channel, cup games, whatever you want, there is literally nothing more dangerous than a team that's got nothing to lose, yet everything to gain. And I think Hibs, with the circumstances they find themselves in over the last month, with how bad they've actually been, find themselves right in that category. But it's not just the run of form or anything like that that's really interested me coming in to this game of football. It's the formation and how they're setting up and tweaking and changing things for every single game, because over the last 4 matches they have changed formation every single time. I mean, they lined up in a 3-5-2. Now of course they had to shuffle it after they got the red card, etc., but that's how they lined up into that game. They lined up in a 4-2-3-1 versus Dundee United, which didn't work at all. They reverted back in the next game with a 3-4-3 formation with a bit more attacking down the flanks. And then in their most recent game, which was that 3-1 loss to Celtic, they lined up in a 4-5-1, which is a more traditional formation we've seen many times used versus both sides of the old firm, which is about flooding the middle of the park, trying to make it as difficult as possible. So if you're sitting here asking me how's Hibs going to line up tomorrow, I've not got a Scooby-Doo troops, because Jack Ross has showed his willingness to change and tweak for every single opposition, which is probably playing its part in why they can't find consistency right now, because if they can't find it off the park, how are they going to find it actually on the park? But again, if you are telling me to put some money on it, or what I think's really going to happen tomorrow, I'd imagine it would maybe revert back to the 3-5-2 formation, which is again built on putting somebody out in the flanks to try and limit and slow down Tavernier, Barisic, Bassey, whoever's playing out in the flanks. I imagine that's how they'll go about their business, try and force us in the middle of the park and try and make it as stuffy as possible, whilst also having that threat of the long ball, which is something we saw a lot last month in October. One touch to Boyle, one touch to Boyle, one touch to Boyle, trying to curve that run. I imagine that's how Hibs will go after Rangers in this game. And with that being said, that's reached the end of the old oppositional preview. Again, I know how bad they're playing or anything like that, but I'm not looking into that at all, ladies and gentlemen. We know for a fact, no matter how Hibs are playing, they always seem to find that extra 10-15% whenever they play against Rangers, so I'm not looking too much in how bad they've been playing. I'm expecting a very, very tough game, or as tough as they can make it tomorrow versus Rangers. And with that being said, let's dive over and get to the Rangers side of today's video, because believe it or not, there's a couple wee things that we need to discuss. Because I know it's been a wee bit of a quiet international break, but believe it or not, there is a couple of wee things that's happened. And the first thing we're going to discuss is the new manager, Mr. Giovanni van Bronckhorst, because there's some questions out there, so we're going to try and address every one of them and rattle every one of them off very quickly. Is Gio going to be in charge for tomorrow's match in semi-final versus Hibs? No, he's not, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't want to come in and disrupt the team or anything like that 2 days a day before a semi-final, showing his class there once again. So he's going to be taking charge as of Monday, which leaves the current situation in which we talked about earlier on in the week, with David McCallum being in charge of the team, coming up from the Rangers B team with the staff and that he's had around him, along with Jermaine Defoe, leading us out there tomorrow versus Hibs. And I know right off the bat, a lot of people's going to be disappointed the fact that Giovanni isn't getting his first game in charge, but what an opportunity this is for the players, because again, Gio's not got his input right now. He can't pick who he thinks is going to play, so it's literally a clean slate for everybody coming into this game, and they know the gaffer's been confirmed now, they know the gaffer's going to be there, they know the gaffer's going to be watching, so what an opportunity for these players to make an impression and start putting themselves up in the old pecking order. So with one elephant in the room discussed, let's go ahead and speak about the Ollie and then shall we? And that's of course the manager David that we've already discussed so far in today's video. With him stepping up from the B Academy, a lot of people might be worried and everything, but to me, it's actually probably the best scenario that we could have found ourselves, because the way our clubs run is very football manager-esque, where the B team, the youth academy, all reflects and plays the exact same philosophy and style as our first team, to make it easier for players that's coming in from the youth academy to the B team to then make that step up to the first team. It's all built in easing the transition for the players stepping up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, with the way things have unfolded over the last couple of weeks, we're actually going to see it from the other way, as the staff is now going to have an easier transition from the B team and academy, blah blah blah, right up to the old first team, which truthfully calms me a lot, because they're not coming into a situation with their own ideas and their philosophy, blah blah, and then they're going to have to try and gel with the players. No, it's all built the exact same way. So again, it's not ideal circumstances before a semi-final or anything like that, but to me, the way it's actually worked out and the way we've got this run is probably the best scenario that we could have actually had. And something else I really love from Mr. McCallum's interview in that as well, he talked about just the way this team actually runs itself, with the leaders in the dressing room, the well-oiled machine that these players are. Because again, isn't it as if Gerrard's only been here a year and he's put his ideas in the player? No, this has been a 3-4 year project with these players. They know what's expected of them, they know how to work this formation inside out, they know everything that needs to be done. So I think that, with the players almost managing themselves and making sure they're in the right place with the right leaders there, etc., as well with the manager stepping up from the B team with the same ideas, same formation, same philosophy, that's probably all we could have asked for coming in to this game. If it were, when the announcement was made that Gerrard had left, this was the exact worry we had in our minds, and this was the biggest thing about distractions, all these tweaks and changes. Well, thankfully it looks as if there's going to be minimum distractions as we wait to transition from Gerrard all the way to Gio. So that's my thoughts on the management and how we're looking going in to this semi-final. And listen, we've talked about this many times over the years, the lot of years we'll be doing this channel. Tactics, formation, philosophies, all that stuff is all important, and obviously it is, but when that whistle goes, it's all about who wants it more on the day, who's willing to run a wee bit harder, who's willing to give that extra 10-15%, who's willing to chase every single blade of grass and be the difference. And I think that for these players will be the biggest question going in to this game, and something for me that I think we're able to challenge pretty well, because they believe they committed to a man who wasn't committed to them, because Gerrard left at his first opportunity. He went down south, ladies and gentlemen. So that must anger and that must piss off and that must frustrate some of these players to see that's an idea that they bought into just be kind of passed to one side. So I'm hoping they can use all this feelings that they've got and all the noise and the distractions and all the anger that they've got and just go out there and unleash it and show why they shouldn't have been so easy and it shouldn't have been so quick to be willing to walk away and leave them behind. So I think these players have a real opportunity to show what they're all about tomorrow. And again, we've heard some great things about the leaders and that in the dressing room. Well, there's no bigger stage than today and tomorrow's semi-final and show what you're all about. And regarding the team, just very lastly, in terms of how we're looking coming in to this game, it's actually one of the strongest we've been now for a very, very long time. Of course, the likes of Ryan Jack, Ryan Kent, etc. are all off the injury list. The only players officially confirmed to be missing tomorrow's game is obviously Big Phil Hallander, which is always gotten, but also I think Jermaine Defoe is officially ruled out now as well, as he's technically a part of the old management staff. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's the latest Rangers team news. That is the Rangers conversation, and that is of course the old oppositional preview. Now all that's left for us today is jam all that together and try to predict the unpredictable. What are you thinking about tomorrow's game of football? What do you think about the management and how are you running it into this game? Do you feel confident? What's on your mind? Who would you like to see be given an opportunity to shine in tomorrow's semi-final? Get involved down there in the old comment section below, and whilst you go ahead and hopefully do that, I will let you know what I'm thinking of this game. Again, I think it is going to be a hard-fought, ugly game from Hibs. I think they're going to make it very, very difficult. I think they'll have their own chances. Hopefully our defence isn't giving them so many. Just put somebody on the post, David, please. Honestly, I'd back you to the hilt, son, if you just have somebody on the post from set pieces. But that to one side, I do think it is going to be at heart and who wants more on the day. And I think with the circumstances and all the stuff that's around them, these players will be angry and will be wanting to show what they've got and show their qualities. And I think that will be enough to come away and get us back to where we should be, and that is making cup finals. So I'm going to go with a Rangers classic. Rangers 2, Hibs 1. Again, I just didn't believe just yet in the clean sheet, but I do think we'll have enough, and I think I'll go for a repeat of the October game. And with my prediction out there, which is always wrong, that's me officially done and dusted with today's video. Hopefully you have enjoyed enough to be hitting that like button. Again, it does really help the old channel out, find other people and everything like that. So if you didn't mind, if you enjoy the channel, that would be amazing. But all that's left for me today now is wrap up today's video and dive into the comments and read and see what you are saying. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, enjoy the semi-final. Hopefully we're all happy at the end of it. I've been CJ over and two. That has been Rocky Boy Johnson. Take care of yourselves, everyone. All the best and bye-bye.